There are 3 cuts that will drop your G&A by 8 to 12% in 6 months. Not theory, a sequenced execution plan with specific targets, specific timelines, and one rule that most owners get backwards. And it costs them every time they do. Most founders think that G&A under control means finding waste and eliminating it. A subscription audit here, a vendor renegotiation there. They spend 6 months trimming around the edges and move the numbers 2 points, maybe 3. The framework doesn't work that way. G&A comes down through 3 concentrated moves, executed in a very specific order. And those 3 moves account for more than half the total reduction over 18 months. The rest is just fine tuning. We've deployed this across service businesses from 2 to 20 million. The same 3 cuts show up in every clean G&A turnaround. The sequencing is almost always where people stumble. Here's what we're covering. Cut number 1. You may have already started if you've watched the last video. Cut number 2 is the one most founders stall on and shouldn't. The quicker you get this done, the quicker you can move your company into a highly profitable state, and cash brings opportunities. Cut number 3 has a trap that breaks companies when they rush it. I'm going to show you the math on all 3 and exactly why order matters. If you've watched video 18, you've already seen the owner's comp diagnostic in full. The market rate benchmarks by revenue band, the split rule, the distribution structure. I'm not going to refresh that here. What I want to do is put in context as the first move in a 3-cut sequence, because the timing of it matters for everything that follows. Owner comp is cut number 1 because it's executable in month 1. No vendor negotiation, no technology implementation, no team restructuring. It's a payroll decision. And at a $5 million business where the owner is drawing $350,000, when a market rate salary for that role is $200,000, that's a $150,000 swing immediately. 3 points of G&A, month 1, single decision. The remaining comp doesn't disappear, it shifts to distributions from profit. Same total money, right bucket. The reason it has to go first is capital. The savings from owner's comp restructuring are what you reinvest in the infrastructure that makes cut 3 possible. You need the cash available before you touch admin. Because remember, there is overhead and additional costs to running everything through salaries. Cash doesn't have additional taxes that you have to pay out. So there are additional things, but also we may not necessarily take all of the distribution that we had before and may decide to reinvest it in different areas. That's cut 1, 3 to 6 points. Month 1, it sets everything else up. That's the foundation move, but owner's comp alone doesn't get you to 15% general administrative. And the next cut is one most founders leave on the table for reasons that have nothing to do with math. Most founders treat office as fixed overhead. The framework treats it as a variable because it is. Going fully remote saves 4 to 5 points of G&A. Downsizing your footprint saves 3 points. Relocating to a lower cost space saves 2 points. Those aren't estimates. They're the consistent range across every case study in the framework. Let me show you what that looks like on a real P&L. A $5 million business running a $200,000 office, that's 4% of revenue. Go remote and you've recovered $160,000 to $200,000 annually. At $5 million, that's a 3 to 4 point of G&A swing. The objection I hear most, my team won't work remotely, or clients expect an office. Run the math before you accept that premise. A $3 million marketing agency I worked with had 3 senior delivery people threatening to quit over an office downsize. So we made a compromise. We had dedicated desks in actual office space, but it was really remote. There was no actual building. We just had dedicated rooms at a remote kind of location or a remote office working space that cost us $40,000 a year. So rather than having a $200,000 a year building, we were able to reduce that by about $160,000. The decision still felt hard, but everyone else was more than happy to go remote. It was just those 3 seniors. So we put them all in the same building, and the cuts helped us deliver more service faster because we were able to make an additional $800,000 purely purely from that cut. And that's really the work, and is not finding the cut. It's really deciding to execute it. The timing on cut 2 is months 1 through 3. It's not month 1 because leases have terms and transitions take time, but the decision should be made in month 1 alongside owner's comp. Delay it and you compress the phase 1 window, and then you're just expanding the pain. So instead of letting it be painful for a long period of time, work out how we can make that adjustment and then roll it out over a couple of months so that the employees can get used to it, the clients can get used to it, and we can slowly start to compress that. Now, it may be that you're already at 15%, so you don't have to worry about this. But again, if you can gain that back, it's going to allow you to grow the company more aggressively by reallocating that into a different bucket. 2 cuts in, you're looking at a 5 to 10% change in your G&A, and you haven't touched admin yet. But cut 3 is where the compounding starts. It's also where most companies make mistakes that cost them months of progress. The order matters here more than anywhere else in the sequence. Admin consolidation targets 2 to 3 points of G&A in month 2 and 4. The math is straightforward. Reduce your non-revenue headcount. Pay for technology that does what those roles were doing. Come out ahead on both cost and throughput. The standard move, invest $20,000 in automation tools or AI to replace $100,000 or more in admin salary. That's a 5 to 1 return on a single decision. Here's the trap, and I've watched this break 3 separate companies, including one that had every other element of the plan work correctly. The trap is cutting people before the automation is live, and AI makes it so that this gets even better as you scale if it's set up correctly. It sounds obvious when I say it out loud, but under pressure, when you're looking at a $25,000 a month admin overhead and you want to see the numbers move, the instinct is to eliminate the role first and implement the tools second. It feels faster. It really isn't. What actually happens is you eliminate 2 admin roles in month 2. The tools aren't live until month 4. For 6 to 8 weeks, the work those roles were doing, billing, scheduling, client communication, internal operations, falls on whoever's left. Delivery suffers, the team is overwhelmed. In one case, we had to bring a temp back for 6 weeks at $8,000 because the remaining staff physically could not absorb the load. The correct sequence is implement the tools in month 2, run parallel for 2 to 4 weeks to confirm the system handles the load. Then consolidate the roles in months 3 and 4. Savings land slightly later, but they land cleanly and consistently, and you don't spend 6 weeks putting out fires. Every case study in this framework confirms the same lesson. Automate before you consolidate. The temptation to reverse that order is strong. Resist it. 3 cuts in 6 months, 8 to 12% of G&A. But here's what most founders miss when they run this plan. The savings don't just reduce overhead. They fund the next phase of growth. And that's where the math gets interesting. Most owners think about phase 1 as a cost-cutting exercise. Run the right numbers, and it's actually a growth investment. Here's how the loop works. You execute the 3 cuts, call it a $300,000 reduction in annual general and administrative spend. Conservative for a $5 million business. The framework says take 50 to 70% of those savings and reinvest them into sales and marketing. That's $150,000 to $210,000 in additional marketing and sales investment. That investment, applied to a sales and marketing engine with healthy unit economics, drives revenue growth. Call it 25 to 35% in year 1, which is consistent with what we see when COGS and sales and marketing have already been addressed. On a $5 million base, that's an extra $1.25 million to $1.75 million in additional revenue. Watch what happens to G&A percentage. You didn't cut another dollar of overhead, but the same $300,000 in G&A spend is now 4.6% of $6.5 million instead of 6% of $5 million. Revenue growth from COGS and sales and marketing does half of the heavy lifting automatically. That's the compound effect. General and administrative savings fund sales and marketing investment. Sales and marketing investment drives revenue growth. Revenue growth shrinks G&A percentage without touching another cost line. The 3 cuts you execute in phase 1 don't just move the numbers once. They create the conditions for the number to keep moving. This is why the framework requires both growth and cuts simultaneously. Cuts alone get you to 15% eventually, but it's slowly, and you're starving the business to get there. Growth alone doesn't work either. The percentage doesn't move fast enough. The two running in parallel is what produces an 18-month transformation instead of a 4-year grind. You now have the 3 cuts: the timeline, the dollar math, and the sequencing rule that determines whether the plan works or breaks. Owner's comp in month 1, office decision in months 1 to 3, automations live before admin consolidation in months 2 and 4, savings reinvested into sales and marketing. That's phase 1. In the next video, I'm going to show you what happens to your admin headcount when you run the 60-15-15 diagnostic properly. There's a ratio that tells you whether you're staffed right or you're carrying 2 to 3 roles you don't actually need. And most founders at 3 to 10 are on the wrong side of it. And if you want us to run this diagnostic on your actual numbers, the link's in the description. We have 15 spots a month and we run this free for those 15 people.